Now, should we worship Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
did die. And he's the only one who said, I'm going to die and I'm going to rise again 3 days later and I will conquer death.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but Jesus never died. We proved that from the Psalms. Psalm 2, Psalm 7, Psalm 118, Psalm 20, 21, 22, 34, 35, 37. You have 69, 91. What else, bro? What else? According to the Psalms, Jesus never died. So either you have to throw the Psalms under the bus or the Gospels under the bus. And if you want to actually learn about it, it's on my YouTube. You can watch it, inshallah.
Jesus practiced what he preached. He proved that the afterlife that he preached is true. He proved that the heaven and hell that he preached is true. Who else in history did that? Did Buddha do that? Did Muhammad do that? No, they're dead. So they taught and preached an afterlife, but they could not prove that their teachings were valid. They couldn't prove their teachings were true. Jesus proved his teachings are true.
I'm sorry to break it to you again, but Jesus did not prove what he preached. According to your beliefs, when he was hanging on the cross, he was saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? So he was forsaken, but you might say, no, he was quoting Psalm 22. Psalm 22 does not support your argument because in verse 2, you have Jesus saying himself, or according to the Psalm, I cry by day, but you don't answer. By night, I find no rest. So Jesus was begging God to save him, but he was forsaken. But the problem is in John 41, in John 11, 41 and 42, Jesus said, I know that you always hear me. Thank you, the God, for hearing me. I know that you always hear me. That is a clear contradiction. One verse you have Jesus teaching that God always hears him, and one verse God he was forsaken. That is a contradiction. He did not fulfill, or he did not prove what he preached.
Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody goes to the Father except through me. Following Jesus Christ is the only way to go to heaven.
That is true. Partially. On the time of Jesus, the only way to go to the Father, to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through Jesus. The same thing on the time of Moses, on the time of Abraham, on the time of Adam. The same way on the time of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So now the only way to go to the Father, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And if you hear about the Prophet and you deny him, you will be thrown into hellfire.
And if Jesus says that, and he proved his teachings are true, the teachings to the afterlife, by walking out of death, defeating death, which Muhammad didn't defeat death, Muhammad was defeated by death.
You just made the blender. First, in our belief, Jesus never died. That's number one. So put that on the side. In your belief, Jesus died. So he did not defeat death. You meant he defeated death after he resurrected. But that is not, and that's nothing to be mentioned because the boy of Elijah, when he slept over him, he resurrected back. The same way when they put Elijah in the grave and they put another boy in the grave, when Elijah's body touched that boy resurrected. And we have similar story in the Quran that 70 men resurrected from the death. And it's also with the story of Al-Baqarah, someone defeated death. So your arguments are foolish, my friend.
Jesus has the truth. You have to follow Jesus. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the only way to heaven.
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Jesus is a slave. He's weak and he's deficient. There is no way for him to be God. He's a messenger, he's the Messiah, and he's the beloved servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wassalamu ala man ittaba al-huda.